After weeks of sectarian clashes and over 1,000 deaths, an uneasy calm now prevails in southern Syria. Bedouin tribesmen have withdrawn from Sweida, and the city now remains under Druze control. Massive funeral procession took place in a village north of Sweida. Chants were heard as people carrying Druze flags marched down the street. The truce may have brought to an end the fighting, but life in pain continues in Sweida as hospitals are overwhelmed and the mortuaries are also full. Now, according to reports, there is no space for dead bodies in the Sweida hospital. The latest visuals show dead bodies lying on the streets. In the time of need, the hospital authorities turned to Israel for help, and now Israel's health ministry has promised to transfer the medical equipment to Sweida. Syrian Red Crescent trucks were also seen carrying humanitarian aid to the southern city of Sweida. The aid convoy will address the acute shortage of medical and relief supplies in the war-torn city. Heavy deployment of Syrian security forces can be seen in the streets of Druze heartland. The place has been the epicenter of a week-long fighting that took place between Druze groups, Bedouin tribes and Syrian security forces. Despite ceasefire, Bedouin tribesmen near Syria's Sweida vowed to resume fighting.
We are currently outside the area of clashes. We are waiting to see if reconciliation is achieved, the truce is implemented, and he surrenders himself. We don't want chaos in our country, but if that doesn't happen, we will not leave this place. There is no power in the world that can drive us out of here unless we achieve our goals and help our brethren and sons.
The ceasefire followed diplomatic efforts led by the United States and backed by Turkey and Jordan. The United States says the ceasefire is aimed at preventing further regional escalation and includes plans for humanitarian corridors and phased demilitarization. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement that rape and slaughter of innocent people, which has and still occurring, must end, urging the fighting between Druze and Bedouin groups to stop immediately. Syria's interim president Ahmed al-Sharaa renewed his pledge to protect minorities. He vowed to punish the perpetrators of violence and said no one will be spared from accountability.
The Syrian state is committed to protecting all minorities and sects in the country, and it will hold all violators accountable, regardless of affiliation, and no one will be spared from accountability.
So far, the fragile ceasefire continues to hold between Druze and Bedouin tribes, while international community is keeping a close eye on how Damascus responds to this sectarian challenge. Let's now talk to Mr. Chris Doyle, who is the Director of Council for Arab-British Understanding and the current lead spokesperson for the Council, is now joining us live from London. Good to see you, Mr. Doyle, and welcome. Even after the ceasefire, many are still questioning Israel's role in the violence, saying that what Israel is looking for is a fragmented Syria, one which is weak and divided. They say it's a miscalculation. Do you agree with these critics who say Syria's unity should be off Israel's gambling table?
Well, Israel should stay well out of Syria. It has instead, I'm afraid, ever since the departure of Bashar al-Assad in December, bombed Syrian military targets, that is, the military that had not been engaged in attacking Israel in any way, shape or form. It has bombed other targets. It has taken land in the south of Syria, around Sweida, in fact, from the, extending the Golan Heights, which is occupied since 1967. And it is now taken on the mantle of being the protector of the Druze community in southern Syria. But it is not up to Israel to do this, and certainly not as a party that actually is in a officially in a state of war with Syria. I mean, that's the technical status. So it would have been far preferable to have seen Israel sail well clear of this and allow other members of the international community to intervene to calm the situation down, to ensure that the Syrian government pursues a far more inclusive approach to the way in which it is trying to rule over Syria. So Israel's role has been entirely negative. It has been destabilizing, and that is why a lot of people do question as to what its real agenda is. Is it to fragment Syria in the way that former Israeli leaders had aims and ambitions of fragmenting Lebanon and other countries, to weaken them, but also to find in future and to set up perhaps autonomous, self-autonomous regions that might see their interests aligned with Israel's.
Mr. Doyle, I'm just curious, despite the ceasefire, what's the future of the Druze minority in Syria? The Druze have fought mainly to be left alone in their mountain regions. What is that one thing that the interim al-Sharaa government needs to do to maintain harmony in that region?
Well, it's far broader than just the Druze. It's about how they are more inclusive with all the components of Syrian society. For example, the Kurds, the Alawis. Remember that in March there was a major outbreak of violence in the coastal areas where the Alawis are predominant. And it is really, when you have a situation where institutions are extremely weak in Syria because of the downfall of the previous regime, that there aren't trusted institutions with the means to sort out issues, every time there is a crisis, it lands up in violence. And that's what we've seen in the south. So it needs the restoration of credible, inclusive institutions that are perceived by all communities as being national, not in the hands of one particular grouping, one particular faction. But it will also need, at a local level, some local deals, possibly even some form of international presence to make sure that this violence is contained. But, you know, when you look at everything that's happened, the levels of violence, humiliation, killings, kidnappings, looting has been really off the charts. So it'll take a lot of effort to try to mediate a ceasefire that is more than a pause, one which can last and build up trust between those communities once again.
Mr. Doyle, as we end this conversation, 1,000 deaths have been reported in Syria. The hospitals are overwhelmed, and we do understand that the mortuaries too are overwhelmed. Which nation or which country can come to Syria's rescue at this moment? Very quickly.
Well, I think European powers are in a good position, the United States, Turkey. But as I said, I think Israel is an actor in this conflict. It is not a neutral party, so it's best to keep out.
All right. Mr. Chris Doyle, it's good to see you. We'll have to end it there. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.